Feels like it has a flywheel made of a snake's foreskin.
Hello and welcome back to Tim Roddy Rides Motorbikes. I'm Rim Toady and this is the 2022/2021 Suzuki Hayabusa. And it's one of those bikes that makes you think, does this make any sense in 2022? It's no longer the fastest thing in the world. It's no longer the most comfortable fast thing in the world. And it's pretty unfashionable in an era of not being able to break speed limits. But this is a very, very compelling bike that is unlike pretty much anything else on the market in terms of being a fast, naturally aspirated, do-it-all thing. Let's find out why I like it and not get run over. First up, apologies for any wind noise, it is just a bit windy today, but here it is, the latest generation of Hayabusa. Should Suzuki have actually brought it back, or should they have just let it to die like a legend? They should have brought it back, and they did. Anyway, this costs a shade under £17,000. It's now available in silver with red bits, white with blue bits like this, or black with bronze bits, as we saw in 2021. In terms of price, there is a performance pack for £2,600, which includes Acra slip-ons, a seat cowl, billet levers, a coloured seat, which is a bit grippier than this one, which is a little bit slippery, and a tank pad. This one has the tank pad, but not really any other options. £2,600 for all that. That's a bargain, because your Krapovich exhaust is £2,800 on its own. So that's £200 more than the pack that it's part of. That doesn't make any sense. If you want the seat cowl on its own, £180. £108 for carbon look mirror covers, which this bike doesn't have. I love that. It's classic Suzuki, isn't it? It's like 90s hydro dipped carbon look stuff. It's not real carbon. Give us proper carbon, Suzuki. And heated grips, £344 extra. This hasn't got them, but they usually operate by a toggle switch on the left-hand handlebar. You can also pay a small amount of money, is it 28 quid, 18 quid or something, to have a couple of luggage straps there, so you can stick an old school bungee net on your back seat and go and tear up the Black Forest at a million miles an hour with your pants strapped on the back. I quite like that. Now the frame on this is extruded aluminium sections, but it's still quite a heavy bike. It's 264 kilos wet, so well, it's basically a big adventure bike. But obviously this is low. It's an 800mm seat height. It's about 31 inches off the ground, the seat. And it is long. It's got a long old wheelbase, so it's got that proper hyperbike thing like the old ZZR and Blackbird. And if you've seen my initial impressions review of this video, I mostly wang on about missing my old Blackbird. Now it has got Suzuki Ram Air Direct, which makes this an S-Rad, which makes my 90s retro bits twitch. So yeah, the air gets sucked in through here and into flames.
Now I accidentally deleted the rest of my main camera footage because I'm an absolute dolt, but we need to talk about the Hayabusa's engine, so here's some voiceover. Those flames that I was talking about are generated by a 1340cc four-cylinder engine that's pretty similar to the old Hayabusa's engine, with 190 horsepower at 9,700 RPM. So it's still a bit of a beast, and significantly there's 150 Newton meters of torque at 7,000 RPM. It has a 20-litre fuel tank, and I was getting about 45 mpg when I was taking it easy, so it's not massively efficient. Electronics are taken care of by a 6-axis IMU, and there's an up and down quick shifter, cruise control, and obviously traction control and anti-wheelie, which do actually get a pretty good workout even in the dry. But let's ride it, and I'll see you back here in voiceover land for the outro.
Right, let's jump on the Hayabusa and go for a ride. Now, I don't normally talk about paint because I'm not after a Faro and Ball channel sponsorship, or am I? But anyway, the pearlescent white on this is so glittery and gleamy, it's not going to come across on the camera, but it just looks fantastic. It is just, I don't know, I kind of feel like we don't have that in most bikes these days. We've lost a bit of that charm. But anyway, riding the Hayabusa, you jump on it and you think, oh yes, this is from an era when bikes were made to fit proper sized people. Until you put your feet on the pegs, and they don't seem that high at first, but on a long distance ride, my knees do cave in a bit. I'm 6'3", as I think I've probably said a million times, but anyway, that's kind of just something to be aware of. You'll find out in an hour's test ride whether it fits you or not. But anyway, let's get going. I'm in A mode, which is the most exciting mode. I'm also in second gear. There we go. It's pretty simple to start. You turn this thing here, it's called a key. It's novel, that'll never catch on. And then it fires up almost instantly. Listen, into a deep cultured rumble. Obviously it is Euro 5, but it does at idle sound like a proper old school big capacity 4-cylinder bruiser, and I love that. And then you've got a quick shifter and the quick shifter and blipper on this are mostly super smooth. It can get slightly jerky on upshifts at low revs, but most of the time it is well, it's Kerrygold. It is a buttery deliciousness. Anyway, I'm actually on the way back to Suzuki's Milton Keynes headquarters here in the UK to hand this back and to pick up something with a bit less grunt than this, but anyway, probably a bit more comfort. And I'm just going to take you along for the ride, really. I've ridden this on a mix of motorways, a mix of back roads, all sorts of stuff really, and it's just been very smooth, very accomplished, and very lovely to live with. The only real downside, as I said, is the pegs are quite high, but otherwise I really like the riding position. I've got quite a long body, so the bars being quite far away is not a problem for me, and on long distances I just find that quite comfortable, almost sports bike riding position. So yeah, I'd have no qualms about touring on this if I was a little bit shorter. I love how stable the mirrors are on these little underslung danglers. Look at that, a nice colour. What a lovely day to be out in your air-cooled Porsche. But yeah, this is a very, very refined machine, and you can just coast around in 5th gear. It's got so much torque, and that engine is so smooth. And I said this in my first impressions video, just how it feels like you're operating some industrial pump that's got bottomless shove. It is like a bottomless brunch of power, this bike, and I really like it. It's got power in all the right places for riding on the road. You're never having to scream the nudges off it like I used to have to on my Blackbird. It is just very lazy feeling, but in the best sort of way. It's just a friend. It's like, yeah, don't worry about this 40-mile-an-hour 5th gear overtake. I'm gonna show you the horizon and then bring it to you. Look at that! All the cool cars are out today. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling, get to national speed limit, hopefully, and then show you what it's all about. Oh no, national speed limit. I'm doing 40 miles an hour, 2nd gear. Let's go. Oh, it gets so fast. It is absolutely ridiculously fast. It makes its speed in quite a smooth, subtle and unintimidating way. It's not like a modern liter bike that kind of bucks and weaves and rips and snarls. Feels like it has a flywheel made of a snake's foreskin. This actually just has some mass. You feel like you're spinning up this wonderful, wonderful engine that just absolutely cannons you into the distance. And again, as I said in my first impressions video, the aerodynamics means that even when you get to advanced German speeds, it keeps pulling and it keeps pulling and it keeps pulling. And I think this has got a technical top speed of 186 miles an hour. Don't know how much of that is to do with the gentleman's agreement stuff, but there's also the whole thing that the previous generation booster was possibly a little bit faster, maybe a little bit more powerful, but I feel like Suzuki quite rightly has given up chasing the top speed title and the power titles because the world has moved on. And I guess the Hayabusa got a bit left behind when all the superbikes started making 200 horsepower, 220, and weighed a good 60 kilos lighter. So this is a bit of a lard ass. But in a way, it's kind of just become its own thing now. It's become a joyful riding experience with a sporty riding position, decent wind protection, and just the mother of all engines. It's a really nice, relaxing bike to ride. It's not a frantic experience. When you open this up, it is just badoosh, you are gone, and the electronics are looking after you. And if you like a kind of fast, relaxed bike to ride, you will absolutely adore this. Look, 5th gear. I'm just going to nip in and overtake before the solid start. Oh yeah, it takes a little bit of waking up, but once it hits 4,000 RPM, you're flying, and like you can leave it in 6th gear. And the benefits of having such a wonderful tractable engine are things like, if you're filtering on the motorway like YouTube doesn't like you doing, you can just have it in the 3rd gear at 20 miles an hour, and you've got instant get out of jail or get into jail speed. Oh look, the solid white start in a minute. The only thing I would say is I've had the traction control kick in, just accelerating half throttle in third gear over a bit of dust. So you're kind of glad it's there. It doesn't feel intrusive. The anti-wheelie isn't intrusive. You just see it flickering on the dash as you pin it full throttle, and you sense that you're not getting all the power. But yes, I don't know how much you can hear me because the wind off the screen is going straight at my helmet. But it doesn't bother me. It's not a buffety sort of wind. Motorway journeys have been actually a real pleasure on this. Unlike some of my adventure bikes where the wind is all turbulent sized at your face, this is just reasonably clean air. Yeah, this road actually suits this bike really well because big sweeping well-sighted bends are where this really thrives, because there's so little engine braking that you kind of want to be able to see around the corners and to make sure you're not going to have to jam the anchors on suddenly. Things like the Black Forest in Germany, perfect for a bike like this. But that's not to say I've not had fun on it on kind of hemmed in local B roads. I've had a lot of fun, but you end up having to use the brakes quite a lot. And they're Brembo stylemas, although they're a very unsexy black matte finish. They don't really look like it, but they are stylemas. They do the job perfectly well, but the pads haven't got the most bite, and you're aware of the bike's mass when you're trying to haul it down. But it's got such a long wheelbase, you're never worried about doing a stoppie, so you can just grab a big fistful of ye olde anchor and haul yourself down. Yeah, it's an interesting bike. It's always like, other than the engine, no one thing really stands out, but that is all absolutely fine, because as a package it is wonderful, really wonderful. I love the paint finish, I love the acceleration, the feel of that engine is so smooth. It is a massive cliche, but it is like you've got a big fat serving of double cream and you're using a Burmese python as a piping case to pipe it into your belly button. It is one of motorcycling's greatest engines, and oh no, there's a 60 limit. I don't have to click down to second gear, but I want to. Fuck yeah, I really didn't have to click down to second gear. That's really, it does try to pick the front gear up. You're very quickly up to speed, so you don't necessarily get to make the most of the engine in terms of revving it out. But you could just use that quick shifter and quick shift up to 6 like you're just going through bullets in a magazine. You go pop, 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 and you are up to speed. I haven't tried launch control, I'm no drag racer, but it has got it. Yeah, on a nice sunny day like today, on a big sweeping road, there are a few modern bikes I would rather be on, to be honest. I should mention the tyres as well. They're Bridgestone S22, so it's got proper decent rubber on it as well. I never really find myself trying to explore the limits of the handling on this. It just encourages me to ride a bit more subduedly. I don't know if that's a word. That's not a word, but yeah, I don't ride it like my hair's on fire round corners. But yeah, it's kind of puts you in a different frame of mind, really. Yeah. Anyway, I'm waffling. In conclusion, to ride the Hayabusa is oddly chilled. Can't remember if I've mentioned this because it's probably a bit boring, but the ride on this bike, when you're up to speed, is really, really good, and over broken, bumpy roads, it can completely smother them, and you kind of end up feeling like you're gliding along. I think I said it feels like an Ekranoplan in my initial impressions video, which is an old Russian boat plane thing. But yeah, no, it's pretty good. I mean, it can be occasionally firm and around town. Usually feel the weight of the bike through the springs a little bit, and it can get a little bit jarry, but by and large, it's a comfy thing. It has got a little bit of a gurgle from the airbox as well on the part throttle. Oh dear. I guess the downsides I haven't mentioned are that an older Hayabusa probably does much the same job as this, but without the electronics and probably a little bit less, I don't know, modernity, refinement. And this has got a 3-year warranty as well, if that matters to you. But yeah, anyway, I've said I've already tried to stop talking, but let's definitely stop talking now and go back to Tim for an outro. D&V, oh yeah. If you could do D&V on a Hayabusa, you'd have it done in 2 minutes. You'd be at Buckingham Palace in no time collecting your gold, saying, mate, I did 186 on the way here, don't tell anyone. One is not impressed.
I was actually very impressed by the Hayabusa. It might have lost its USP as the king of speed, but it's still got such a lovely blend of comfort and speed. It's like riding on an inflatable unicorn into a riptide. The quick shifter and blipper let you make the most of the low down shove, and short shifting on this thing's actually almost as fun as ripping it to the red line. It's oddly relaxing, and slightly cramped foot pegs aside, it makes for an epic tourer. Thank God it still exists. Thank you for watching this video. If it was good, please hit like and do subscribe to the channel, because there's plenty more motorbike nonsense coming soon. It won't all have voiceover. Sorry.